Today we will discuss about thyroid neoplasms. So thyroid neoplasms arise in the thyroid gland. It may be both benign and malignant, and they may present as solitary nodule or thyroid mass. Only 1% of thyroid solitary nodules are malignant, rest are benign or non-neoplastic. In thyroid scintigraphy, that is radioiodine uptake is less, so they appear cold, and almost all thyroid neoplasms are more common in female than male. The relative ratio of male and female incidence may vary in each of the individual entities, but usually female are more commonly involved than males. Now about individual thyroid neoplasms. They are classified conveniently into benign and malignant types. In the benign thyroid neoplasm, we will study about follicular adenoma. Malignant type involves papillary thyroid carcinoma, which is very common, 85% almost, followed by follicular carcinoma, which is up to 15%. Then we have undifferentiated or anaplastic carcinoma, 5%, and medullary carcinoma, 5%, up to 5%. Other less important tumors are poorly differentiated thyroid carcinoma, collision tumor. It includes both papillary plus medullary carcinoma or follicular plus medullary carcinoma. So there is coexistence of two tumors together in the collision type. We also find malignant lymphoma in the thyroid. Usually it may progress from Hashimoto thyroiditis. Now first of all, follicular adenoma. It is a benign neoplasm, as the name indicates, adenoma. It is a benign neoplasm arising from the follicular epithelium. 6 times more common in females, and grossly they are discrete, spherical, solitary, painless, capsulated mass, and in thyroid scintigraphy they appear cold nodule, that is, they do not produce thyroid hormones, and also they are painless. A small percentage of lesions are hyperfunctioning. They are also called toxic adenoma because they produce thyroid hormone independent of TSS secretion and cause thyrotoxicosis. More commonly, the patient is euthyroid. Mutation lies in the thyroid receptor signaling pathway. Now the microscopic appearance, how will we identify the follicular adenoma? So it is an encapsulated nodule with distinct architecture and cytomorphology than the surrounding normal thyroid tissue, and uniform appearing follicle filled with colloid with little variation in cell size, shape, and nuclear morphology. Mitotic figure is also very rare. These points are the differentiating features from the benign looking follicular carcinoma. Occasionally, Hürthle cell or oxyphil change may be seen. What is Hürthle cell? Hürthle cell or oxyphil change, it occurs because of mitochondrial hypertrophy. The cytoplasm contains more number of mitochondria in these cells. This is a kind of metaplasia actually. Normal cells become metaplastic, get converted to Hürthle cell. The cytoplasm becomes brightly eosinophilic and granular. This is also because of mitochondria. Okay. Now, differentiation from follicular carcinoma is on the basis of careful evaluation of intact capsule around the tumor in the histopathology. So, in the fine needle aspiration cytology, we cannot distinguish follicular adenoma from follicular carcinoma because we cannot check the integrity of capsule. So very thorough histopathological specimen is dissected and slides are made so that capsule can be very thoroughly examined for invasion, which will confirm follicular carcinoma, and if it is intact then it is follicular adenoma. It has excellent prognosis. The adenoma, the nodule, is surgically excised and it do not recur. So the most important of our thyroid neoplasm is papillary carcinoma because it is most common. Nearly about 85% of all thyroid malignancy derived from thyroid follicular epithelium. So in the thyroid, either the cells may be derived from the thyroid epithelium or from the parafollicular C cells, or they may be lymphocytic origin causing lymphoma. So this is derived from thyroid follicular epithelium. Similarly, also we have follicular carcinoma, even anaplastic carcinoma arises from thyroid follicular epithelium, also poorly differentiated variety. Then Hürthle cell carcinoma, these are derived from thyroid follicular epithelium. So the one which is not derived from thyroid follicle is medullary carcinoma, which is derived from parathyroid C cell. We will deal about this in the later slides. Mutation is again in the growth factor receptor signaling pathway. 20 to 50 years of age, that is younger than the follicular carcinoma, in which we will find 40 to 60 years of age. There is history of previous exposure to ionizing radiation. It was observed during the Chernobyl mishap that occurred in Ukraine in 1986. Now, multifocal disease is common. Immunohistochemistry will show positivity for pancytokeratin, that is epithelial origin. Then thyroglobulin and TTF1 is positive. It shows origin from thyroid epithelium. More about papillary carcinoma, the microscopic or the histopathological picture, we will see that instead of normal follicles, there are branching papilla, okay, finger-like projections, right? Throughout the neoplasm, you will see finger-like projections which are lined by one or more layer of cuboidal epithelial cells. And there is a fibrovascular core through which the blood vessels and lymphatics run. The fibrovascular stroma here. So this is a true papilla because it contains fibrovascular core. Within the papilla there is a fibrovascular core, okay, blood vessel, lymphatics and other stromal component along with the epithelium lining the papilla. So we find the papillary structure, the branching papilla, finger-like structures. This is very characteristic of papillary carcinoma, conventional papillary carcinoma. There are other variants of papillary carcinoma in which we may not find papilla-like structure. The cells of lining epithelium may be uniform looking or may be anaplastic. And the diagnosis mainly depends upon the nuclear features. So in the absence of papilla, in the absence of cellular pleomorphism, we will see nuclear features, which is diagnostic. So first one is orphan NEI nucleus, which is also called ground glass nucleus or optical clearing of nucleus. Actually, the nucleus appears empty due to finely dispersed chromatin. Some books say it is a tissue processing artifact. So the nucleus appears empty. If this is the cell, here's the nucleus, and it appears very empty, whitish, few clumps of chromatin in the outer part of nucleus. There is nucleus grooving. Okay, the nuclear membrane invaginates. So there may be nuclear grooving, pseudo inclusions inside the nucleus. If this is the cell, this is the nucleus, the cytoplasm invaginates here into the nucleus, but the intact nuclear membrane is there. So this is cytoplasmic pseudo inclusions inside the nucleus, giving an impression of intranuclear inclusion. So these three, that is orphan NEI, nuclear grooving, and nuclear pseudo inclusions, these are diagnostic. Psammoma bodies. Psammoma bodies are concentric classification inside the fibrovascular core. So if this is the papillary structure, here's the fibrovascular core, we will find concentric calcifications inside the fibrovascular core of the papilla. It is also found in many other tumors like papillary renal cell carcinoma, somatostatinoma, serous cyst adenocarcinoma of ovary, meningioma, and mesothelioma. Lymphatic invasion by tumor cell is more common than the vascular invasion. Okay, papillary carcinoma usually have a predilection for lymphatic spread rather than vascular spread. So it metastasizes first to the lymph nodes rather than distant organ metastasis. So cervical lymph nodes are very early finding. Enlarged cervical lymph nodes are very early findings. In contrast to follicular carcinoma, here it is lymphatic invasion. There in the follicular neoplasm, follicular carcinoma, we will see the vascular invasion is more preferred. So there is early distant metastasis to solid organs like lung, bone, and liver. Variants of papillary carcinoma. There are dozens of variants of papillary carcinoma apart from the conventional variety. The most important and most common is follicular variant, followed by tall cell variant, diffuse sclerosing, papillary microcarcinoma, encapsulated variant, oncocytic variant, columnar variant, Hobnail variant. So the most important is follicular variant. It is most common and it was misdiagnosed as follicular carcinoma in the past. But now it is recognized on the basis of nuclear features. It has been recognized as a follicular variant of papillary carcinoma. There is no papilla architecture of the tumor, but the nucleus of the individual neoplastic cells show features of papillary carcinoma like orphan NEI nuclei, pseudo inclusions, nuclear grooving, etc. One different, it has predilection for vascular invasion, okay, vascular with a single L, rather than lymphatic invasion as opposed to the conventional papillary carcinoma. Tall cell variant. In the conventional type of papillary carcinoma, we see the uniform cuboidal cell, but here we will find tall columnar cell lining the neoplastic papilla. Diffuse sclerosing variant, there is papillary growth pattern, but there are intermixed areas, solid areas of squamous metaplasia and intense lymphocytic infiltrate like Hashimoto thyroiditis. Papillary microcarcinoma, the overall tumor size is less than 1 centimeter and it is discovered incidentally. It has better prognosis than other variants. And then we have other less common variants. We have already discussed encapsulated oncocytic columnar Hobnail variant. Oncocytic has that same Hurthal cell change. Now we come to the second most common neoplasm of thyroid, that is follicular carcinoma. Its incidence lies somewhere between 5 to 15%. It is more common in iodine deficient areas where the incidence of follicular carcinoma increases, that it may reach up to 35%, 30 to 35%. So etiologically, iodine deficiency is an important contributing factor in follicular carcinoma. It is common in older age group as compared to papillary. In papillary, it was around 25 to 50. Here we see 40 to 60 year age group. Male female ratio is 1:3, that is 3 times more common in female. Microscopic appearance. So they may be small follicles like the normal thyroid epithelium. Small follicles, inside it there is colloid and it is lined by follicular thyroid epithelium. Okay, this is thyroid follicular epithelium containing colloid lined by uniform cells. Although it is carcinoma, but the cells, neoplastic cells, are uniform. Second presentation is there are no follicles, but there is sheet of follicular cells, follicular thyroid cell sheets. Okay, solid sheets of thyroid follicular cells without any colloid. Hurthal or oncocytic cell may be seen in Hurthal cell variant. If there are few Hurthal cells, then it's okay to call it follicular carcinoma. But if most of the neoplastic cells show Hurthal cell changes, then it will be classified as Hurthal cell carcinoma. That is a different type of carcinoma, but still a variant of follicular carcinoma. Hurthal cell, as we have already discussed, contains excess mitochondria in cytoplasm. It's a kind of metaplasia and is also seen in other conditions like non-neoplastic condition, Hashimoto thyroiditis, follicular adenoma and Hurthal cell carcinoma. Vascular invasion is diagnostic. So vascular and capsular invasion of the tumor is diagnostic. There is lack of nuclear feature of papillary carcinoma and there is capsular and vascular invasion. Vascular invasion is the invasion of tumor cells into the blood vessels of the capsule or outside the capsule, not inside the tumor, not the intra-tumor vascular invasion. Okay, this is important point, that if tumor lies here and this is the capsule, this one is the capsule, and in order to diagnose vascular invasion we have to see the vessels of capsule, those vessels which lie inside the capsule or those which lie beyond the capsule, right? So vascular invasion is more common than lymphatic invasion. We had seen in the papillary carcinoma that lymphatic invasion was more common than vascular, but here vascular invasion is more common. Tumor spreads early to distant organs like bone, lung, liver by hematological dissemination, and to a lesser extent to the cervical lymph nodes. Now follicular adenoma and follicular carcinoma may look quite similar. There are some differences which may give some clues towards one of them, like thick fibrous capsule. The capsule of carcinoma is thicker than that of follicular adenoma. There is high cellularity with solid or trabecular pattern in the carcinoma. In the follicular adenoma, we will see normal follicle like structure. Diffuse nuclear atypia may be there, and mitotic figures are present in follicular carcinoma. And we will look for capsular and vascular invasion, which is diagnostic. Now capsular invasion has to be thoroughly checked. The capsule must be completely transgressed. That is, if this is the total thickness of capsule, then it must be completely transgressed. The tumor cell must come outside this imaginary line. If there is a breach in capsule layer, then the tumor must reach outside this projected line. This is complete transgression. In vascular invasion, it should be capsular or extracapsular blood vessel, not the intracapsular blood vessel. And also the tumor growth should be covered by endothelium inside the vessel wall. So if this is the blood vessel and we see tumor cells here growing coming to the lumen, so it should be lined by endothelium here. It should be lined by endothelium, covered by endothelium. Also, it may not be lined by endothelium. It may be inside the lumen, but it should be attached to the vessel wall and should form a clot along with the fibrin. So it should form a thrombus. Here it is not lined by endothelium, but it is attached to the vessel wall and forming a clot along with fibrin. If in the case 3, if it is like this, tumor cells inside the lumen, no wall attachment and no clot, then this may be an artifact. It may be a tissue processing artifact, and this is not diagnosed as vascular invasion. So we will keep in mind scenario 1, scenario 2 and scenario 3. Also, the vessel should be present inside in the capsule itself or beyond the capsule. The third variety of important thyroid neoplasm is anaplastic carcinoma, which is also called undifferentiated carcinoma. It is also derived from thyroid follicular epithelium, like papillary and follicular carcinoma. It is very aggressive. Mortality rate is 100%. Patients do not survive usually beyond 1 year. Median survival is very less, that is 4 months only. Again, slightly more common in females. Mean age is 70 years, that is older than both papillary and follicular patients. And prognosis is even poorer in older patients. Age is a poor prognostic factor. It may arise de novo, that is there is no tumor and suddenly there is growing thyroid mass, then it is anaplastic carcinoma. Or it may present as already present well differentiated papillary or follicular carcinoma. Now it has de-differentiated and appear anaplastic. So clinically, it is very rapidly enlarging bulky mass and spreads to adjacent neck structure beyond thyroid, also shows distance metastasis. Due to compression of adjacent neck structure, it may cause dyspnea, dysphagia, hoarseness of voice and cough. Histopathologically, it is composed of either giant cell or spindle like cell, or both, combination of both. So there may be osteoclast like giant cell, which are large polygonal cells with highly pleomorphic nucleus, multiple nucleus, or it may be spindle shaped cells with sarcomatous appearance, or there may be presence of both in the same tumor. Vascular invasion is found and inflammatory infiltrate of neutrophil is there. Sometimes neutrophils are also seen within the giant cell. Within this giant cell we will see neutrophils engulfed by the giant cells. Immunohistochemistry is done. Then we will find cytokeratin is positive. It implies epithelial origin. This implies epithelial origin, but it is negative for thyroglobulin, TTF1 and calcitonin. Thyroglobulin and TTF implies what? Thyroid follicle origin. Okay. Thyroglobulin and TTF1 is present in papillary as well as follicular carcinoma and their variants, but it is negative here in the anaplastic. Calcitonin implies medullary carcinoma, but here it is absent, and it will also be absent in calcitonin will also be negative in papillary and follicular carcinoma. Fourth important thyroid neoplasm is medullary carcinoma. As we have already discussed, it arises from parafollicular C cells. That is a neuroendocrine neoplasm. It will be positive for synaptophysin and chromogranin. So tumor secretes calcitonin most commonly and also other polypeptide hormones, but less frequently than calcitonin. It includes ACTH, adenocorticotropic hormone, leading to Cushing syndrome. If it secretes VIP, that is vasoactive intestinal peptide, then it will cause diarrhea. That is, in up to 30 to 40% cases of medullary carcinoma, it presents as diarrhea. It may also secrete serotonin. So medullary carcinoma may arise sporadically, or it may be familial, that is inherited. So sporadic variety is more common, familial is less common. Familial has severe outcomes. Familial medullary carcinoma includes familial medullary thyroid carcinoma, multiple endocrine neoplasia type 2, which includes both A and B types. The familial cases are more common in younger ages, may also be seen in children. There is multicentricity, that is within the same lobe, multiple areas show tumor, or it may be bilateral, that is it is present in both the thyroid lobe, right and left, simultaneously, and there is presence of C-cell hyperplasia in normal appearing areas. C-cell hyperplasia, that is also called multicentric C-cell hyperplasia, is considered to be a precursor lesion. There is RET proto-oncogene germline mutation. It has autosomal dominant inheritance in familial types. Even there is raised calcitonin levels, but hypocalcemia is not a prominent symptom. Microscopic appearance: polygonal to spindle shaped cells forming sheath, nest, trabeculae or follicle traversed by delicate fibrovascular septa. Now there is acellular amyloid deposits seen in the extracellular spaces as pink staining amorphous material. It is derived from excess calcitonin secretion. Multicentric C-cell hyperplasia is seen in familial cases, and it is believed to be precursor lesion. Immunohistochemistry should always be done to confirm the diagnosis. And as we have already discussed, calcitonin is positive, pan neuroendocrine marker is positive, cytokeratin is positive. Also positive for CEA. That would be all. Thank you.